starting off with Agent P. This is a four-wheel drive vertical spinner bot from Norwalk Havoc. Here it is recreated as a Witch Doctor version 1. It's got some really nice push and it's got quite a powerful weapon, but the downsides obviously it cannot self-right if it gets flipped over, and it generally has traction issues at times. But all in all, this is a pretty solid first robot. Now moving on to Astral Cookie. This is a returning robot from Season 1. It was the #1 overall seed. They are back and they have improved significantly, an even more powerful weapon and stronger drivetrain. This is going to be one of the robots to watch in this entire tournament, purely based on their raw, vicious weapon power. Next up we have Atomic Bomb. This is a big sort of mega vert style bot. It's pretty powerful. It does struggle with drive issues from time to time, but it has a very, very low front armor package, and it has quite a powerful weapon. So we'll see how this thing does in a competition with very, very few large vertical spinners. Moving on to Backlash Wave. This is a robot purely based on speed. The weapon power, it's not that great. It's kind of mostly there just to provide a sense of a little bit of damage, but this robot is mostly known for its speed to kind of get around opponents and do as much damage as they can. Me personally, I don't think that this robot is going to do very well, but you never know. Moving on to Bung. This is the brainchild of Pori in the green square and Civilian Arc. It is not really a flipper or a lifter. It's kind of its own breed of robot. It's mostly here just to have fun and make a splash in the tournament. I don't think it'll do very well, but it's going to be fun no matter what. Chainsaw Kitty, on the other hand, this is a very powerful bot in terms of drivetrain and durability, but the weapon is severely lacking. If it comes in at high speeds for hits, it'll be able to do big damage and potentially even flip robots over. But in terms of just general basis of robot, this is a more control structured bot for getting pins and controlling fights. This will be a very interesting robot to watch, and I predict that it will do quite well. Chubby Unicorn. This is a modified Hyper Shock. It's got a single tooth blade and can do really big damage and get some good hits in on opponents. The front armor package is very low to the ground as well. The only issue with this robot is that it is quite slow and doesn't really turn well, just purely based on how low the front forks are. This is certainly a robot to watch, but it'll be interesting to see how it is able to make up for these drive and control issues. Cyclone from Chaotic Robotics returning to Duckbots for a second season with a much heavier and more powerful weapon blade and a much faster spin-up time. It is more destructive than ever. The only drawback to this robot is that the weapon reliability, not exactly on the top of the charts. It does take a while to spin back up after landing hits. It does spin up generally really quick, but this robot is essentially a glass cannon. It's going to be looking to end fights with its really powerful weapon as quick as it can. We are on to Dark Matter from Oof Robotics. This is a very large overhead spinner made from a tombstone. It gets up to speed really quick, and it does a lot of damage to opponents and can easily throw them the length of the arena. The big issue with this robot is it flipping itself over when coming into contact with big wedges. But besides that, this is an incredibly destructive robot, and it is the largest spinner in Duckbots Season 2. 100% a robot to watch. Moving on to Dinkybot. This is not a very good robot at all. Mostly just a replica or an art bot. The weapon, it barely does much. The side guards are very, very brittle. This robot, I doubt it'll win a single fight, but it is a very cool recreation of an NHRL Fingertech beater bar bot. Electric Boogaloo is back. The original Chaotic Robotics design hopefully an improved speed to this robot. The Thwacker does not really move as well as it did in Season 1, but obviously sacrificed for much more traction and speed. This is another robot that I think is not going to do very well. They are looking for their first win in all of Duckbots, so it'll be interesting to see if they can get it, but if you look on paper, this robot is not really well equipped to fight anyone in this entire field. The brand new creation, Epilepsy Warning. This robot is made using the Seizure Disc from Robot Chaos Season 7, very kindly gifted to me by Chaotic Robotics himself, mounted on a very large motor. This robot, it may not look that good, but it does have some really good speed, and that weapon is fully capable of throwing bots pretty high and far, even though it is quite thin. But that weapon motor that is attached to is no joke. This is definitely a robot to look out for, and it's going to be a treat to watch this thing fight in the arena. Fina, this is a grabber bot. It is not really the most competitive robot, mostly just to goof around and have fun. The grabber isn't effective in any way at controlling opponents. It is mostly just a large wedge with a more of a nuisance grabbing mouth. This is more of a robot that tries to act like a fan favorite, but in the end it's really not a fan favorite due to how boring its fights are. But it is redesigned from Duckbots Season 1, and it is going to try its very best to get a couple wins in and entertain the crowd. Moving on to Ghost, this robot recently produced probably one of the biggest hits in all of Hexbug BattleBots, throwing dark matter clean out of the arena. It has a very nice full body spinner shell, and this is just a glass cannon. It's going to throw itself with that weapon up to speed into other robots and just try to launch them as far as they can and do as much damage as possible. Ghost, I think it'll do very well based on their weapon power, but if they do end up with drive issues or weapon reliability issues, which they are known to have, it could plague them in this tournament. But this is certainly a robot to keep track of. Moving on to Goo, this is a very sturdy hammer saw bot, very low to the ground and quite durable. The hammer saw itself isn't exactly the most destructive thing in the world, but it is certainly does damage. This is more of a controlling robot that likes to dominate and dictate the pace of matches. Certainly one to watch, but not really one to watch for its incredible damaging qualities, mostly for its just fight controlling and essential dominance. Now onto my flagship bot. This is Hairdo, the older and wise brother of the famous aquatic disaster from Ultimate Robotics. It has a very small weapon, but it is a very thick weapon. It is quite heavy as well, and it spins it quite fast with those treads, and it is just looking to cause as much damage as possible. It has a very low wedge in the back. The only issue is that they tend to have weapon reliability issues, but other than that, this is a pretty well-rounded robot. They've got high points in almost all categories, so this is definitely a robot to watch, and a robot that is fully capable of going really far in this tournament. We all knew it was coming. We are on to the defending Duckbots Season 1 champion, Hypershock, the stock Hexbug. I feel like if you're watching this, you would know how good the stock Hypershock Hexbugs are. All around brilliant speed, aggression, durability, weapon power. This is just a complete robot. It is looking to double up and get its second championship in a row, and it is fully capable of doing so. Hypershock, this is going to be a tough robot to beat this season, and they are looking to claim their second championship in a row. Heavily improved from last season is Imposter. They were pretty much a mediocre horizontal spinner all of last season, but for this season they have drastically increased their weapon power. This thing is on pretty much the same level as Astro Cookie in terms of weapon power, almost better even. This is arguably the most powerful Tombstone Hexbug mod of all time. This thing is an absolute demon in the arena. and I cannot wait for you guys to watch it fight, because pretty much all of its fights, or any fights that it'll ever have, are going to be just all around barn burners. This is an amazing robot. Master, the controlled lifter bot from Season 1, is back with a fresh paint job and a couple armor upgrades. This is a tried and true lifter design with a nice front plow. They're going to try and control the competition, lift robots out of the arena, and try to replicate their run last season where they almost claimed, the #1 seed and managed to do very well. They are certainly a robot to watch and look out for. On to Maximizer. This is a brand new robot, a fairly untested design at the Hexbug level. This is the robot from Norwalk Havoc. It has the whacking spinner tail at the back. It'll be very interesting to see how this does in a tournament setting, because it has a couple just one-off fights, especially one very famous one where it got suplexed by Pineapple and just shut off after that. So I'm very interested to see how this robot does against other opponents where it's only had a couple just one-off fights. Certainly a robot to keep track of if you're interested in very interesting designs, but I'm very interested to see how this one does. Now on to Murder Wasp, the beta lifter. The lifter itself, it has only about 1 or 2 shots before it just breaks. This is not a very good robot. If you think this robot is going to do very well, you are wrong. This is a very, very bad robot. The lifter, it's not a lifter. Let's just move on. This robot sucks. Ocean Man is here, the famous vertical spinner bot from Chaotic Robotics, winner of Robot Chaos Season 6 and #2 seed overall in Robot Madness. This is a very scary robot with a very powerful spinner. They are going to be looking to just destroy anything and everything in their path. Look out for Ocean Man this season, because they are in a field of unfamiliar opponents, and this design is going to try and do whatever it can and win this tournament, because it is fully capable of doing so. On to Pineapple. This is the grabber bot. It is a recently robot that has been scaled up to the plastic level weight class. It was the #2 seed overall in Duckbots Season 1. This is a robot that is predicted to do very well this season by a lot of people. It is just a very well-rounded robot. The weapon itself isn't damaging, but it is going to try and dominate all aspects of the control category. It'll be interesting to see how this does in a field with a lot of big spinners such as Ocean Man and Astro Cookie, and we're just going to see how this robot does in a very dominating field. Moving on to Pinky. This is very, very conventional Minotaur mod with a custom egg beater. It is not really a robot that is known for being quite powerful. It's mostly just a controlling nuisance bot. It's going to try its very best. I don't think it'll do very well, but who knows? This robot has surprised many times. The spirit of Pepe himself, the 4-wheel drive vertical Drisk bot. They don't have any ground game on the front. They're looking to lead with that very powerful weapon and just cut into opponents. That decision may come back to bite them, but maybe it'll benefit them. Who knows? This is a robot that is taking a long shot risk here, and we're going to see if it pays off or if they're going to be sent home packing early. Revenge of Mouse, the undercutter bot from NHRL, built by Tom Farkas. This is a very fun robot. The undercutter itself is absolutely no joke. It is capable of doing a lot of damage. Even just looking at it, you'd think this is a silly robot, but in the end, this is a very serious contender and not a robot to overlook at all. Rusty the stock Hexbug, back for another bite at the cherry. This is not a robot I do not think will win. I think it is capable of winning, but it just in a field with all these really well modded Hexbugs with big spinners, I don't think this robot will do very well. But who knows? I could be wrong, and I'm wrong a lot of times, so we'll see how this robot does in a very well-rounded field. Back from serving his 3-year prison sentence, Shockwave is here again as a hex bug. They were permanently banned for a long time. We think we all know the reason at this point. But this is certainly not a robot to overlook. They've got a very durable front wedge. While the lifter may not be very powerful, it is capable of kind of putting robots in places they don't want to be. So, who knows? Maybe Shockwave comes back from the dead, or more or less back from prison to, put a show. So, we'll see how this robot does. Now we have got Torment. This is the vertical spinner from Ultimate Robotics. It is quite powerful. It is certainly capable of doing big damage to its opponents. The biggest issue with these Witch Doctor V1 mods is that if flipped over, they cannot continue fighting. So Torment, they've got to land the hits and kill their opponent quick before they are flipped over by some of these bigger weapon robots. But in the end, this is a very well-rounded competitor from a very well-respected builder in the Hexbug community. And I'm very interested to see how this will do in a field like Duckbots Season 2. This is generally a stacked field, and we're going to see how these more well-rounded robots end up doing in this tournament against some of the more crazier designs. The Driver 2 creation, the legendary flipper bot of Under Destruction. They were the champions of Duckbots Season 0, or the pilot season that was never released to YouTube. It's a modded Bronco with very, very fast speed. It's a very, very good robot. Like, as much as it pains me to give Driver 2 credit for anything, they did a very good job in building this and modifying this to be as powerful as it is. It is a very effective flipper. It can win fights without even losing a sweat, and it's certainly a contender to win almost any tournament it's put into. And it'll be interesting to see how it does in this tournament, and if it's lost any of its mojo anymore. This is a robot that has been around for a while, and we're gonna see how it does with a bit of a modernized drive system, and yeah, we'll see how it does. Very interesting robot in Whirlwax up next. This is a Melty Brain spinner. It might not have the most powerful weapon, but it is able to spin in place and kind of move a little bit on its own while spinning. It is swinging a decent amount of weight. It's just that the only problem is that it's not spinning very fast. But if this thing gets the right opponents and it just keeps working, then I think this is a robot that can do very well. It's just a very cool robot, and honestly, I just hope it does very well because it's very cool. And God, this took me so long to make. Please send help. Our last robot in this competition is Exterminator. This is the hammer bot from Robot Wars. It is the heaviest robot in the competition, weighing in at a whopping 8 ounces or half a pound. The weapon, it doesn't really do much. It kind of just pecks away at its opponents like a bird. It's very durable. While it doesn't have the most effective weapon, the rest of the systems of this robot are almost indestructible. It has so much armor, the drive is almost untouchable, and it's got a very well equipped armor package and wedge. So this is a robot that, ironically enough for Exterminator, has a chance to do very, very well in this tournament, just purely based on their wedge and armor, which, we'll see how it does. It's gonna be a fun robot to watch. That is pretty much going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Before I go, I would just like to leave the side note that there is 3 reserve bots that could potentially come in to replace other robots that ended up having to drop out. Very similarly to how Lort came in to replace Muffin in Season 1. So this field is certainly capable of providing a very, very fun tournament. There are some very big spinners, some well-rounded control bots, and I'm just excited to share this series with you guys. Episode 1 comes out this Saturday at 1 p.m. EST. Be there or be square. I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.